All right, let's try this again. Somehow my video didn't get put up, so I am trying to re-record it real quick. Somehow YouTube wouldn't allow my video to go up. That's never happened before. It wouldn't even show up. That's strange. Oh well, that's okay. Real quick, just want to address an article I saw from the New York Post. Just came out 2 days ago. This is the mainstream media directly putting out that title of the article is that black women should marry white men. It's actually suggesting that. Now, it's not giving you a question. It's not telling you to consider discussing it in a debate or anything like that. They are outright suggesting this is what's better for the black woman. And this is a direct attack, outright disrespect of the black man and the black man's position in the black family and the black community. So that's why I needed to talk about it because of how direct they're being about it right now. This is something I've been talking about, but because nobody thought it was important, now they're getting direct with it and they're going for the kill. So, just to start out, I'm not here to try to convince people to think the way I think. I'm not here to say which side is right or wrong. I'm not here to push any type of morality or religion because, as far as I'm concerned, those things are relative. And if somebody chooses to be a humanist, what I call a humanist, and they decide to love or marry outside of their race, that's their right to do. They have a right on this earth to choose that, and I'm not here to tell them not to or so on and so forth. I think that we need to respect where people are. Everybody's not where you are. Everybody doesn't agree with what you believe. I had to learn that as well. And I used to be in a place where I thought that my mission in life was to convince and convert everybody to think along the lines of what I thought was right. I don't do that anymore. I had to learn that everybody has a right to exist the way they want to exist. But the key word is respect. And we have to respect where people are. And in turn, they also need to respect where we are. It goes both ways. That's how I look at it. So I didn't really want to talk about these type of topics anymore because of that reason. My goal with these type of videos is not to convince or to try to make converts or try to change the minds of anybody, change the minds of white people, change the minds of black people. It's just to get information out. And in the process of getting information out, my intent is to create some type of a network for like-minded people to possibly, you know, grab somebody's attention that might have a worldview similar to what they're hearing here and feel like this is a place where they can come and hear that type of rhetoric or that type of way of thinking that is rarely experienced in probably their life or in their everyday experience or anywhere online or in the media. Just to have a possible network of like-minded people who possibly can share their views, their thoughts, and compare notes, so to speak. That's what this is. But as you can see, um, this is an agenda. This is an agenda that's been going on for a while now. A lot of people have been sleeping on it. I've been talking about it, but I'm going to talk about it again real quick. If you notice in the media, like I said, they are giving you images of what the better choice for the black woman should be, they put together images of couples, marriages, where the majority of them show the black woman with a non-black partner, whether it be a woman or whether it be a white man. Even though that doesn't reflect the reality that black women still choose the black man more often than not, and that's what you see in everyday life more often than not. But they've pushed this and perpetrated this in such a way where that's the overwhelming image that you see in the media, is that that's not the case. That when you look at the overall image of the black woman on TV, movies, such and such, they make it seem like the number one choice for the black man is the white man, followed by other women, with the black man minimal or non-existent. And this has been going on, like you see all the movies where it is the white man that is pushed to be the better option than the black man. Now, why are they doing this? That's the question. Why are they doing all this? Right? Why would they want to do all that? Well, it's because they want to neutralize the protective class of the black community, which is the black man. They've already done a good job of doing that in other ways. Now I feel like they're going in for the kill, and that's a part of colonialism. Is you have to exploit the people and influence the women to be a part of the dominant society rather than align with their own men, and look at the dominant society, those in power, as who to go to for security, who to go to for those that are the strongest, or the providers, whatever you want to call it. And this is what they're trying to push. So these are the type of images you see. You see it in advertisements, you see it in movies. So this article is actually written by a black man, and he's actually a married black man with a black woman, beautiful black woman as a wife, which is part of the tactic as well. Um, when you put a racist agenda out there, you want to use, their tactic is to use black people to do that, so it won't get attacked, or they think they can hide the fact that it's racist by having a black person deliver the message. I remember Spike Lee talked about that in Bamboozled, when they had that meeting about the TV show, and they had a white woman come in to try to redirect the way the show is going to be promoted. And they said the way we need to do that is we need to have a black grip, a black, sound guy, a black guy behind the camera, because how can it be racist when the creators of this message is so-called black? So-called creators are black. When it looks like it's black people giving you the message, they think they can trick us to thinking that it's not from white supremacy. It's not delivered by racist white supremacy, racist white imperialism, colonialism. It's a trick, and a lot of people have been falling for it. But I'm here to pull the color. I'm here to pull the covers off of it, as always. So what they're doing is, the article flat out tells you, it's flat out suggesting that black women should marry white men. It's flat out telling you that. And this is a racist article. I want you to understand that's what this is. This is straight up racism. A lot of black people don't understand or want to identify with it as racism, because our people are programmed to think that racial preference for your own people is racism. But what they don't understand, and I'm going to get into, the ones that programmed you like that, um, they also programmed you to think that their race is superior. So, for example, let's say a person put out an article such as this saying that, making the title, Jewish women should marry black men. Jewish women should marry black men. Now, that would get backlash from the Jewish community and others that this is a racist article, But the problem is, like I said, because black people don't recognize those type of things as racist, because we want to be included, we want to be accepted by the dominant society. Black people close their eyes to the fact that this type of rhetoric is actually racist against them. We're the only people that accept this type of treatment. So let me pull up the article so you can see it right quick. Give me 1 second. This is the article. Okay. Why more black women should consider marrying white men. Again, this is the New York Post. Why more black women should consider marrying white men. And they're using as the template this the Ketanji Brown Jackson lady that's being considered for nomination of the white Supreme Court. This is her white husband. You can see how they're putting out that imagery. They're laying the programming on pretty thick here, as you can see. All right. Now, this is how it goes, right? It says two of the most powerful positions in the United States government will soon be held for the first time by black women. Kamala Harris and Ketanji Brown Jackson. Harris, as we all know, is the vice president of the United States, and Brown Jackson could soon become a white Supreme Court justice. And now Kamala Harris isn't actually black, but it goes on to say, but Harris and Brown Jackson also share a personal attribute that is equally noteworthy. Each has a white husband. This fact is significant. The effects of race, now he's going to get into why it's significant. Okay. So this is what they're going to key in on through this whole article. Why it's significant that powerful, educated black women have white men a lot of times. Why that's significant, important, or a good thing. It says the effects of racism have left well educated black women with a paucity of black male partners. So they're putting the blame on racism, why educated black women have a lack of black male partners. Racism. Keep that in mind. And it goes on to say, according to the Brookings Institute data, black men are less likely than black women to have completed high school and 50% less likely to have attained a 4-year college degree. Yet, despite the shortage of suitable black partners, black women have also been least likely of any minority group to marry outside of their race, according to the data from the Pew Research Center. So let's dissect this just a little bit, right? First, they start out saying that black women have a shortage of choices for black male partners, which, if you listen to a lot of black women, our sisters do say that a lot, that it's hard to find, um, if you're an educated, successful black woman, it's hard to find a counterpart of your own, right? They're giving the reason for this to be this racist society that we live in, right? They're saying this is why there's a scarcity of that. Okay. Let's see if they stick to that or if they try to flip it without you catching it. They said the reason's racism. Now, I wouldn't argue any of this. They're saying black men are less likely to have completed high school, blah, 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 blah. In other words, black men aren't as successful as black women. I wouldn't argue that. That does seem to be the dynamic for the most part. But it tells you that even though this is the case, yet despite the shortage of suitable black partners, black women have also been the least likely to go to marry outside. So basically, black women still stick with black men, like I was saying, for the most part, even though the dynamic is it's scarce to find so-called eligible black men, they still tend to stick with their own, right? Now it goes on to say, rather than partner with men of other races, many heterosexual black women either don't marry or marry black men with whom they are not especially well matched. So they're saying that black women, rather than to stray away from black men, they just stay by themselves, or they'll marry a black man that's they're not matched well with. And these mismatched relationships contribute to African Americans having the highest divorce rate of any racial group. In fact, black women are the only demographic to have a higher divorce rate than marriage rate. Now, they just got through saying that the reason for the scarcity or being hard to find a black man for a lot of successful sisters is racism. Now they're saying, well, it's harder and there's a higher divorce rate, not because so much of that or that they can't find black men at all. It's that they're not equally or especially well matched in these relationships with black men. Now they're going to go into their version of what makes the black man not well matched. And this is where the trick bag comes in. This is where they're going to start throwing curveballs and wrenches in the mix to spin some propaganda now. Okay? A bit more than a decade ago, I published a now. Okay, he's going to get into a book that he wrote. This is the writer. The writer's name again is Ralph Richard Banks. Now he's going to give you. He's talking about a book that he supposedly wrote or whatever. We don't care too much about that. It's called "Is Marriage for White People?" Right? He examined the decline in marriage across America's society, especially among blacks. So he's saying in this book, he says the book raises the possibility that black women like Harris and Brown Jackson would do well to open themselves to partnering. He said that, let me read that again. He said the book raises the possibility that black women like Harris and Brown Jackson would do well to open themselves to partnering with men who are not black. In other words, it'd be great for them to find people that aren't black to deal with, to not deal with black men. They do well to do that. And again, any other group, if an article was written about this, they'd be all over 'em. Okay. But because black people have allowed this for so long to be abused, disrespected, they know they can get away with it. It goes on to say, after all, black men appear to have no problem marrying out. The same Pew report revealed they are twice as likely as black women to have a non black spouse. Now, they're trying to give you a reason why it's better for a black woman to be with a white man than a black man. Okay. Why do you need to throw in that black men appear to have to go to marry out more so than black women, which is true. And I'll be the first person to put out there that the black woman has been at our side since we've been in this land. They've been our strongest supporter. They've had our back, even at times where we don't deserve for them to have our back. And I would say, and I would agree with this to some extent, that it was the black man that dropped the ball first as far as marrying out in larger numbers before the black woman started to do that. And sisters are just now starting that trend of going to white men. For I mean, when you really look at it, it's just now starting. For the most part, they still rock with us. So yeah, I would go for that. I would not disagree with that. But see, what does that have to do with providing a case for why black women need to divest? Just because black men do it? Why does that make the situation a better option? Um, they're going down a road of degrading black men. They're starting a pattern here where they're going to start to give you some of their own rhetoric, their own created rhetoric as to what is wrong with black men, why they should divest out. This is where they're trying to go with all this without providing actual reasons. And remember, they started with saying racism was a reason why it was hard to find black men. Now they're going to try to throw in morality or low quality reasons why they can't find black men. Okay. Something that white people shouldn't be talking about anyway. It doesn't concern them what's going on in our community where they need to make decisions for us in the little media pieces. Nobody else has to deal with that, but we're supposed to be told how we're supposed to live our life. And again, when you're dominated, when you're occupied, these people feel that they can have that type of influence over you because it's been that way for so long. Now it says, but the most significant fissure of it says the most significant fissure was between black men and black women. While some black women were made uncomfortable by the book and the way it put them in the spotlight, many others embraced this message of empowerment. Right? It's a message of empowerment to not choose a black man. This is what he's pushing with his little book. Right? Now, if a white writer would have wrote something like that, that would have sounded funny, wouldn't it? Black woman, you need to empower yourself by choosing me. See how they're pulling this little they're pulling this game where they're trying to brainwash you, they're trying to make you think a certain way, major programming here, right? Others embrace its message of empowerment. That was a message that not all black men wanted to hear. Well, I guess not. All black men didn't want to hear. Yeah, we don't want to hear that we're no longer an option for our own women. Yeah, that's not something that we're trying to right. That makes sense that black men wouldn't want to hear such a thing, especially since no other men have to hear mess like that. At one of my book talks, and let me just keep okay, here we go. At one of my book talks in Washington, D.C., I worried a fight would break out between a young black woman yeah, right. Like he's worried there's going to be they're trying to push some division here. They're trying to insert dissension between two states of mind of black women that don't exist on a large scale in actual life. But they want to insert that in this magazine or this article for some propaganda to influence you. It says at one of my book talks in Washington, D.C., I worried a fight would break out between a young black woman who asserted her right to choose whatever type of man she wanted, and an older black man who condemns such sentiments as betraying the race. So I guess, okay, so there was a fight, so called, he thinks there's going to be a fight between this man, older black man, he says, and a younger black woman that wants to divest, right? And he says it's called, he's describing it as betraying the race. Whenever people, so this is a white article, because of course the black writer is on the payroll of white supremacists, obviously. They are saying, they are condemning the sentiments of some black men that say it's betraying the race to divest out. Now, whether it be betraying the race or disgrace to your race, however you want to put it, I like to use the word inhibitor more than those terms, because that sticks to just plain scientific fact. Because when you get into disgracing and all that stuff, now people are throwing morality into it. Most black people don't have a right or wrong morality view as to why it's best to stick with your own. Most black people don't think like that. Most black people are assimilationists. But when you deal with so most black people aren't going to look at that as a disgrace, or that's not an issue with most black people. But when you talk about what it actually is, inhibitor, when you say something is inhibiting something, that's taking away your ability to continue your racial lineage, your DNA, your heritage. It's discontinuing genetically your ability to have black children. So as far as the fact of the matter, you are inhibiting your race by marrying out. That's how I choose to put it. So, and again, like I said before, um, people that don't look at it that way, that's their choice. But like I said before, to try to villainize those that have that worldview, that is racism. It should be respect going both ways. It says other critics, including some black women, contended that white racism precluded black women from finding non black partners. And this convinced many black women that they cannot or should not partner with a non black man, even if the alternative was remaining unpartnered or in a bad relationship. As a result, many black women feel that they should marry down before they marry out. So, again, like I said before, they start out talking about the condition of society, racism, blah, blah, blah. And they're telling you, they're trying to tell us what the psyche of the black woman is. Well, rather than to deal with, because of this racist programming on the black woman, they are apprehensive about trying to get with a white man because of that. And also, they throw in because they don't want to be in a bad relationship or they don't want to marry down. Now, pay attention to how they threw that in there. What does marrying down or having somebody that's you're going to be in a bad relationship with, what does that have to do with being afraid to venture out because of racism? What does one have to do with the other? Again, they're getting into the idea that if you that somehow marrying a black man is marrying down, or you're going lower quality, or you may be in a relationship that is uh, somehow a bad relationship because you chose a black man. Well, you can be in a bad relationship with a white man. You can marry down with a white man. But is that article spinning it that way? Or are they spinning it in a way where marry down, bad relationship is only addressed toward black men? Because you notice those type of terms in this article is not attributed at all to white men, even though it could be. So they're pushing their own rhetoric to try to brainwash our sisters. This is how conniving and demonic these people are. He says, I explained in my book why black women should not be pressured to sacrifice their own chances for happiness out of some misplaced loyalty to black men. So he's telling black women not to be pressured to sacrifice their own chances for happiness out of some misplaced loyalty to black men. Wait a minute. I thought that your choice of men, the idea that you can't find a black man, had to do with racism. Now they're saying it has to do with loyalty to black men. So they're saying that you're going to sacrifice your chance of happiness by misplaced loyalty to black men. And see, this is the thing that you need to understand. Notice how they're not saying that you can lose out on happiness by misplaced loyalty to a white man. You notice that? Now, is that possible? That being loyal to a white man can cause you to be unhappy? Of course. But according to this article, the way they're spinning it, that's an impossibility. See, so they're trashing the idea of being loyal to a black man. They're saying your chance of being happy by being loyal to a black man. See, now they're getting away from it being any other reason why you wouldn't want to be with a black man, or why you can't find a good black man. They're saying misplaced loyalty can cause unhappiness. It says, nor should black women feel beholden to black men under the guise of advancing the race. So yeah, you shouldn't feel like you're beholden to black men or limited to black men under the guise of advancing your race. That's not important. Wanting to continue your race, that's not a factor. If the price of racial solidarity is a bad intimate relation, there you go again with the bad intimate relationship. Nobody's talking about a bad intimate relationship except what they're trying to push. Nobody said that you should be in a bad intimate relationship. If the price of racial solidarity is a bad intimate relationship, then the cost is too high. Black women should not be held hostage to the struggles of black men. Now, what does that mean? They should not be held hostage to the struggles of black men. Well, what are the struggles of black men? It'd be nice if they would have explained exactly what they mean. Struggles of black men. What type of struggles are those? They're really trying hard to find a reason not to deal with black men. They're really trying hard to substantiate a valid concern outside of there just being low numbers why you shouldn't deal with a black man. True, race can provide a basis of compatibility. Oh, they're going to throw in a little bit of honesty here. It's true that race can provide a basis of compatibility, but race itself cannot solely sustain a relationship. And there are many bases of compatibility other than race. Well, of course, there's other basis you use besides race when you're trying to find a partner. But let me show you how hypocrisy enters into the picture here. He's saying race can provide a basis for compatibility, but not race itself. Race itself cannot solely sustain a relationship, and there are many bases of compatibility other than race. Wait a minute. Why are you just pushing that rhetoric when it comes to black men? Shouldn't you say that about all races? If it's really not about just being with black men and you want to include white men, why can't you apply that same sentiment to the white man? That race itself cannot solely sustain a relationship. You know why? Because then you'd have to take down this article. And this is the problem I have with people that push this kind of stuff. Now all of a sudden race doesn't matter, but this whole article is telling you that it does. If it if you really thought that race wasn't a factor in choosing somebody, you wouldn't be making an article talking about the white option is better. You wouldn't be trying to convince people not to deal with black men. And that's the same with the whole idea of humanists and divestors in general. And this is why I don't. I have my issues when people try to attack pro-blacks and people that do want to promote self-preservation of your bloodline DNA, your family. You want to preserve your blackness. The ones that attack that, they have this sentiment. They'll say the same thing. Well, it's not so much about race. And I don't see color. I don't see race. This is what they'll try to say why you're wrong for promoting black love, right? But here's the problem with that. If you're going to be that way, where color, you don't see color, you don't see race, be that way across the board. Be that way in every scenario. But what they like to do, the same way this article is doing, is they only want to bring up this type of rhetoric when it is having to do with relationships. But if there's some type of police brutality where a brother or sister is getting their brains splattered all over the pavement because of a cop, or if someone is being discriminated against when they're not being chosen as a if they're not being included in society, like being chosen for high positions or jobs, if they're being discriminated against and they're not picking enough token Negroes, or if someone is calling you derogatory names. Why is it that when it comes to those type of discussions, nobody's saying race don't matter? Nobody's saying color don't matter. I don't see color. They see color in all of those type of scenarios. The only time they don't see color is when it has to do with the bedroom. and that is disingenuous. And that's why I don't allow people to try to uh, bogart you into uh, being a humanist over pro-black as if that's the better option, because it's disingenuous and it's dishonest. If you're going to have that type of worldview, be honest about it, be forthright about it, have it all the time and in every situation, not just when it comes to sex. Now, these people are trying to they're trying to push the idea of black women marrying a white man, and now they're saying that race doesn't have anything to do with can't sustain a relationship. When the whole time that's what they were trying to push themselves. See, this is what white supremacy does. They put racism on you. They're literally using the racist rhetoric they are accusing the pro-black of against black people here. They are literally pushing racial discrimination, racism, saying white is a better option, and disguising it with pushing that the pro-blacks are the ones using discrimination. They're trying to cover it with that. See what I'm saying? So it gets into more numbers. It says from a mere 3% in 1980 to 12% in 2017, according to the Pew Research Center, also reflects their increasing autonomy to choose partners that best serve them. They should not have to apologize or feel guilty for doing so. Wow. That's George Lucas, which I don't think they're still together, but George Lucas is the one that did Star Wars. And says there's been little discussion in the media or culture about the white partners of prominent black women like Harris or Brown Jackson. And I hope this reflects the increasing social acceptance of such unions. So they're saying there hasn't been a lot of backlash when you see the black women the prominent black women dealing with white men. And he's hoping that that social acceptance continues. And that's the problem right there. Um, when it comes to me, social acceptance by the dominant white society is not important as much as self acceptance. And again, expecting that that is the right way to think or acceptable way to think, that inclusion and social acceptance trumps self perseverance or independence, that is racist in itself. It is racist to expect a people to have inclined their whole existence on being accepted by you, who have dominance over them, who occupy them and control every aspect of their lives, control their politics, control everything as far as economics, give them jobs, you know, to have to be in a subservient position to another people and expect them to be okay with that for eternity, that is racist. And more black people need to recognize that that's what that is, because no other people on the planet would go for that. And they're not going for it. We're the only people that subject ourselves to uh, being a slave class, to being a servant class. It says that, and he hopes this reflects an increasing social acceptance of such unions. If so, then Black women will be able to enjoy the relationship freedom that they deserve. Wow. If, in other words, if more of that acceptance happens, then more Black women will be able to enjoy the freedom in relationships that they deserve. So, the Black women that choose Black men, right? Is that relationship freedom that they deserve? So the Black woman deserves better than to just be with a Black man. That's not what they deserve. See what they're saying here? The freedom they deserve. Outright disrespect. That's why I had to speak on it. They're getting bold with it. Um, yeah, I don't have too much else to say on this. So well, I do have something else to say on this. Part of the reason this is going on is a lot of Black men have gotten soft, and as far as I'm concerned, brothers take some blame in this because, like I said, for a long time, they thought it was politically correct, and they thought that, well, um, they bought into the idea that you're supposed to be accepting of everybody, and you're supposed to go along with not preferencing anybody, not preferencing your own, because we're brainwashed into thinking that is racism. So brothers are afraid to speak up on this. They're afraid to speak up and say, this is what's best for the Black man. This is your natural partner. This is something that I'm not ashamed to choose is best for our people, is to preserve our race and preserve our DNA and our bloodline and our families. There won't be any Black families if there aren't Black couples, you know. So it's pretty important, right? And you don't have to apologize. You don't have to be ashamed of that. See, that's what I mean. Both sides don't have to be ashamed, and both sides should be respecting each, you know. But you can see it's lopsided when it comes to the respect factor here, and they have an agenda where they just want the Black man out the picture. If you can't see that by now, then I don't know what else to say. So that's it for this. You can leave comments as to what you think. I will have, I haven't had time to really put out videos like I used to, but I am working on some things where there's some information I brought out that I really haven't had a chance to really share with you guys, dealing with the whole idea of the religion, um, where religion actually comes from, and how long ago it started, why it started, and as far as the Bible, even the origin of it and who first put that out there, for the Bible to be spread across the world. What's the real origin of it, and all of the evidence points to certain individual it came from. So those are things that I'm going to be putting out, and I'm giving you a heads up because a lot of the stuff, there'll be information that most people just aren't going to be ready for, and I'm talking conscious and unconscious so-called folks. Some of the things that I'm going to share, a lot of people just won't be ready for, period. So I appreciate you guys listening. You guys take care. Black power.